Welcome to the Perkers.
Welcome to the Perker. Mixer and
Perkers and Perkers. Mixer, brother.
Biggest.
We're talking about the NBA.
The NBA.
The NBA. That's how we're starting the podcast.
Go for it.
Welcome to the podcast. This is episode 10. And with it being episode 10, we are going to look back 10 years
Where?
in the NBA.
Sir.
Perkers.
It was a very interesting year for the NBA. For like, compared to obviously what we're going through now, it's like it feels like so normal, like normalcy 10 years ago, and then comparatively speaking to right now, it's just fun. It's fun to think about how normal shit was.
Normal,
back then.
and then also kind of like a last of its kind season.
Yeah.
So NBA 2010, it was an MVP season for LeBron James, and while simultaneously, you know, that's like a changing of the guard. The old guard was also leaving on top.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant going to the NBA Finals with the Lakers and beating my beloved Celtics.
Winning Finals
In
MVP.
7 games, Kobe winning Finals MVP. And in only one of those games did a team score 100 points. So definitely a different era.
Very much so.
And then after that, everything changed. LeBron essentially, as people dub it, the player empowerment era.
Yeah.
Where he made his decision.
Their decision.
To go to Miami.
You remember how big of an event that was on the ESPN?
Terrible. He made the decision at the beginning of the thing, right? Or was it at the end?
I think it was afterward.
Was that the end?
He kept
Did we
everybody
sit through
waiting.
an hour?
Yeah, he kept everybody waiting.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a whole big event. From what I heard, like LeBron didn't even want to do it. It was like his management team or something that was like, let's do this. But
I know it made numbers, but it was not it's not a well thought out
no way.
thing.
But I mean, it changed players and sports forever. Like I mean, especially in the NBA, like how you said, player empowerment. They just have the will to, like, if I want to move, I can move. Like the biggest player in the world was able to do it, so everybody should be able.
Everybody was able to do it, and that that was a big thing. So LeBron winning MVP, he's at the height, or we thought, of his power, and not really.
No.
But at the time, we're like, LeBron James, best player in the world, and is like still couldn't get over the hump. He couldn't get over the hump, and then made a change, made an impact, made a splash. But while he's doing that, we still have a whole era of basketball that came before him that was like it was like years of it where we were like, oh, this is like the perfect culmination. Celtics, Lakers, the most storied rivalry in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, you can't write anything better for the NBA when it comes to
and the two most decorated teams in NBA, and technically ending / starting a decade.
It was a good way to end the decade. Like, and then the next year it's like LeBron takeover. Like, this was the last year of like LeBron.
Well, the next year, LeBron takeover, but then also Dallas being like, we're going to steal one more.
Yeah, I mean,
one for
it's
Dirk.
true. It's very true.
The new decade being a new take on Dirk's career.
Yes,
because that's definitely something that happened.
Well, I mean, people can say that. I mean, you can say that the Big Three era kind of started with Boston. You know how the KG and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce came together. But
I think the idea of it,
the player orchestrated Big Three that started with Bron. Yes. I mean, him calling up D Wade and him calling up Chris Bosh. Let's get on the same team together and let's do work. I mean, the Big Three did start with Boston, but I don't feel like that was player organized.
Yeah,
it was more
it was
like
all an effort and kind of like one last chance for all of these guys to really make this push. And they all kind of had to agree in some way, but it wasn't an orchestrated thing by them. It was definitely like
Paul Pierce was not calling up Ray Allen like, yo, I need you to come over here.
They made a trade, and then it was like, let's make another trade and hope the best happens right now. And it paid off. They got one chip.
Yeah.
As some people
say, 2
2
finals appearances, 1 chip. So
the most milked championship there is.
I think
but
so.
Screw it. I love that championship. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Thank you. I needed that.
That was like a meme before meme.
I needed that.
I mean, and you look at the Lakers. I mean, you got Pau Gasol, Purgaser getting together with, Kobe, and they had
Dirk Fisher.
You want to go with Metta World Peace?
Ron Artest.
Ronald Artest. Why did he change? Never mind.
I don't know.
That team was orchestrated together. So
I will say it right now.
What?
If Kendrick Perkins wouldn't have got hurt, we would have won the freaking chip. I'm just saying, we won game 5, and then it was over from there.
So you're putting.
We scored 67 points in game 6. Yeah. You know what kind of bullshit that is?
Devin Booker once scored 70 by himself.
So we scored 67 in a fucking game 6 of a finals. And it was yeah, no.
Yo, 4 or 5 years before that Kobe dropped 82.
That shit hurted.
It was just... No, it was it was a lot slower pace.
Slower pace, iso ball, big man heavy. Yeah. Everybody had bigs.
It was before the stretch 4 happened. It was before the stretch 5 happened.
The triangle still worked.
Yeah.
Triangle offense still worked.
When we talk about LeBron going to Miami from 2010 to 2011, they didn't go in with we need a center. We don't care.
That also started a subtle shift, and then as teams started to realize small ball lineups are working, this is going to be a thing.
Exactly. Their center was Joel Anthony.
The Celtics also kind of played they dabbled with small ball with KG at the 5 a little bit.
But KG's a big boy though.
Big still.
He's the big ticket.
Big ticket. So it was this is still such an archaic look on the NBA.
Yeah.
10 years later,
right? Didn't the Lakers, was Andrew Bynum on that team?
Andrew Bynum
he was on that team, right? And then Andrew
Bynum,
Powell's big. It's crazy.
Metta World Peace.
He went to he went to Philly and never played a game.
Nope, not a single one.
He never played a single NBA game in a Sixers uniform, which is crazy.
Hey, he came in at the right time, got his stuff, and left.
That's what shows you, back in the day. I say back in the day, 10 years ago. Didn't really matter how skilled you were as a big man. If you're 7 feet tall and can get rebounds sometimes, you can become a champion. That's how the game was played back in the day. Now, if fucking Andrew Bynum wants to play an NBA game, you better be able to fucking shoot, boy. You better be able to rim run. You better be able to do something.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I wish the Celtics would have won this year because it was a fun stretch.
But y'all won it 2 years before that, right?
Yes.
2008?
A championship that some consider we shouldn't have won when we won it because it was still under, when you first bring players together, you're never, the chemistry thing was always a big thing. And they were
you never know,
You'll never win the championship that first time around. And we did.
Yeah.
And then it kind of set a precedent that that's what LeBron had to follow, where it's we're bringing this big 3 together. And then they made it to the finals. And it was
well, this is
somehow people were that's a bust because they didn't win that championship that Dallas won over them.
Yeah.
And I'm nah, it's rare for a new group to just come in and do it.
And everybody there was either in their primes or slightly past their primes.
It was different. But
remember what happened? Remember what happened in that year? What did KG say? Anything's possible. So it was I think that was a good year. I
need to get that tattooed somewhere in my body.
I was going to ask where, but I don't want to know.
You guys should let me know where I should get that tattooed on my body. And I'll let you know anything is possible. Oh, man.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
KG's my favorite player in the NBA ever. So
yes,
just so you guys know.
I think we can go back because starting at the beginning of the 2010 season, the draft was very interesting.
So the 2010 draft,
2009 draft.
You want the 2009 draft,
right? I'm looking at the wrong year.
I'm looking at the 2010 draft. So this is after the Lakers win.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 2010 draft. I got to go back.
2010 draft actually is also an interesting draft. A year in review. And we look at the 2010 draft and...
So we're not looking at the 2009 draft?
No. 2009 happened in 2009. That was 11 years ago.
But that was from 9 to 10.
We should have done.
That was the beginning of 9. I mean 10.
Well, the championship happened in 10.
Yeah.
Like the finals were played in 2010.
Oh, okay. Oh,
that's
why
it's like the 2010 finals.
You're right. Yeah, that's fine.
Like, yeah, for the 2009-2010 season. But,
it's all culminated in 2010.
It gets confusing. That's why I kind of like, low-key little thing for baseball. That's why I like baseball. It's all played in one,
yeah,
go.
But then, yeah,
and
exactly.
You go, all right, what happened this year? That baseball. Okay, cool.
Astros a piece of shit.
Summer's
Yeah, Astros a piece of shit. Yeah, whatever.
Astros, yeah. 3 guys got hit today.
I saw that. They pegged him. Yo, I was like,
fuck this Stros.
Crazy.
They're gonna fucking go.
Man, Altuve was supposed to be the guy, man. He was supposed to be the advocate for short guys everywhere. Fucking
screw him.
Jerk. Fuck all those guys.
They suck. So,
right. So on the 2010 draft.
That 2010 NBA draft. I actually like this draft a lot, but the crazy part is the injuries that would plague this draft.
Yeah, you're right.
Actually, pretty astounding.
You're right.
So, 2010 draft, number 1 pick, John Wall.
John Wall.
Do you have any curls with John Wall going number 1 in
Absolutely not.
At the time.
I think people, obviously he's been out of the league because of injuries, but people forgot how good John Wall is.
Pretty damn good.
There's a reason he got that contract. There's a reason why the Wizards were like, you are our franchise. Like, we're going to give you all of this money. Now, is it true that the Wizards as a whole, as an organization, have not been the best? Yes. But they found their guy, and it was John Wall. He is a fantastic basketball player, and he deserved that money for the most part. I mean, they may have overpaid him a little bit, but with today's NBA, who knows?
I'm still looking at it right now, and I'm looking down the list, and I'm like, he's one of 2 guys in this draft to get to 20,000 minutes played so far. And I'm like, even with the injuries, the man has played a lot.
The only other person in this draft that could come close, comparatively speaking, is Paul George.
Paul George is the best player to come out of this draft.
I would think as a whole, he is the best player.
Regardless of what John Wall has done, I think Paul George is the best player to come out of this draft.
I agree.
Number 10.
I agree.
Nobody expected Paul George to be what he is today. But definitely good.
Is there a problem with John Wall going number 1 in the draft?
Number 1?
No, absolutely not.
Now,
he deserved it.
Evan Turner going number 2?
No.
Not a good pick.
Well, I mean, he was
good.
He was the basketball player of the year in college.
He went to the wrong, I think, situation. And almost no teams knew how to use him at this point. Like, it was a thing where I'm like, Evan Turner, very talented guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in his time in Boston, I was like, oh, snap, I can see, like, he's good.
But when you start out in Philly and they don't treat you right, when you start out in Philly, look what happened.
Philly was a cursed place for basketball. Very talented place.
I think when you go by just his accolades in college, this makes sense. I mean, he was player of the year. I mean, him and Ohio. I don't know if Ohio State made it to the dance. I'm not sure how far they went, but I know that him personally, he played fantastic. So I mean, it makes sense. But I mean, obviously, looking back, you would say, interchangeably speaking, John Wall and Paul George would go 1 and 2, however you want to, stack them, whatever. But Evan Turner going second after looking back 10 years,
not bad. Not bad pick, but I'm like,
No.
I don't see of what people expected. I'm like, I can see why.
Mm-hmm.
Because other guys definitely overperformed and a lot of guys underperformed.
Yes.
Next being Derek Favors. Decent pick. I get it. Big man. He's solid. He's had a decent career.
Yeah.
Another guy where
he's never been negative, I don't think.
I think obviously nowadays he's had to adjust to a change in the era of basketball. And I still don't think he took advantage fully of his era, like when he came in. So he's a guy who's always been, you expected something.
Yeah.
He's been solid.
He's been solid. He's never been, I don't think he's been a negative on defense or offense for the most part. Yeah. So, I mean, is that enough to justify taking him at 3? I don't know how long he even stayed with the Nets. I don't think they even
kind of win shares though. What the hell kind of stuff? What the hell's going on?
I mean, he did. I mean, he's played with.
Played good.
He's played well.
Yeah. Then you got number 4, Wesley Johnson. Good career. Look, he was a good player, but these injuries have derailed the Wesley Johnson life train. Like
he also got retired by James Harden with the illest crossover in NBA history. When he played for the Clippers, James Harden crossed him so bad. I'm not joking. That the next day, I got a report from Bleacher Report. It was a joke, but I got a report on Bleacher Report saying that somebody had rolled out, like he sent a letter to his team like, I'm retiring. Because that's how bad James Harden crossed him.
Our friend Jay, who's watched some basketball highlights,
yes,
knows this play and goes, "Damn, that was pretty bad." I go, "Yes, Jay."
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Wesley Johnson, you are known for that,
getting crossed by the beard.
Like other people know, when they watch basketball plays, but I'm like, that is unfortunately your highlight now.
And yeah, obviously he got, like you said, he got injured early on in his career, so he's had to suffer through that. But
some stuff, played some, didn't play as many games, moved around a little bit, and it was, it is what it is. But now the next pick, the most divisive pick.
I think he is the most divisive.
DeMarcus Cousins going to Sacramento.
Boogie. What's your thoughts? A lot of people have thoughts on Boogie. What's your take on Boogie?
He's definitely a tough player to want on your team, but damn, I would have wanted him on my team. I think he went to the worst situation in the league. Sacramento did not do him any favors.
No. Any Derek favors.
And anything's possible. Boogie. I loved watching Boogie play. I think he is obviously could strive in any era of basketball.
Yes, I believe so.
Definitely proved his worth. His injuries, so far recently, have been very demoralizing.
It sucks, man.
And it really sucks because I think he was starting to become one of the best players in the league to watch, because it's like you got a guy with size, really good footwork. He doesn't have like the athleticism that you would typically think, like lateral movement or explosiveness, but he has a physicality to the way he plays. He definitely fouled a lot, but he was a strong player.
I mean, he's a heavy dude.
Very strong guy, and he can pass the ball well. He can shoot it from anywhere. He's a guy that you would want.
Some people would say when Boogie was on, like his last year in Sacramento, or maybe even when he first got with New Orleans, that he could have been the best center in the league.
I do think he was best center in the league.
You think he was the best center?
I think that Boogie comes in right now and is still probably the best center in the league.
I mean,
like, just because you would see a guy like JoJo, who's extremely talented.
Yeah.
But I look at Boogie and I was like, that guy can shoot the ball like really well. He was dropping let's see, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight All-Star appearances.
That's crazy.
And in that stretch, he was like averaging about 24, 25 points a game.
And playing on Sacramento with nobody else. Fucking Isaiah Thomas, maybe.
And, he's like
Jimmer Fredette.
11, 12 rebounds a night. He was getting it, man.
They drafted Jimmer Fredette after they drafted him. And he was supposed to be the shooter that needed to help Boogie Cousins.
Shot pretty well from three.
He can fucking pass. I think people forget how good of a passer Boogie is.
Freaking nice. That's a guy that you.
I mean, I guess you can make the argument.
4 assists a game.
You can make the argument that maybe he's the first or second best player in this draft when healthy. I mean, Boogie was a dominating force.
When he was on, I truly believe he was the most fun guy to watch in this draft for me.
The problem is,
there was nights for John Wall or Paul George where I go, damn, those guys are dominating. But the nights where I would watch League Pass and Boogie was cooking,
it's hard. It's hard to stop.
That was fun to watch basketball.
He was just also really hard to play with.
And he was really hard to play with. He didn't like a lot of guys. He didn't like Isaiah Thomas.
He didn't like his coach.
He didn't like his coach.
I mean, the fact that you can get mad at George Karl. George Karl is like the coach that everybody loves. So what? I don't know. Boogie has always been really. I mean, even in college, he was really hard to deal with, and everybody knew that he was going to come in the league. He was going to have issues with authority and blah blah blah, and taking coaching and criticism. But Boogie can play, and it sucks that when a big man gets hurt and when your legs get hurt when you're a big man, it's tough. It's tough to come back from. So
guy his size and some of these injuries, it's tough. We were kind of robbed of this really talented player.
Yeah,
and who knows what that New Orleans team would have been like with him on it. Though his injury then forcibly unlocked some new level of Anthony Davis that we've never seen before, just out of necessity.
That year is when I think they swept Portland in the playoffs.
And it was like
that was 80s coming out party.
They played a different level because they had to.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
And that was
I'm like, it sucked. It was like we sacrificed one guy to see this other guy. But
and now they don't even have that guy. They have a different guy now.
Got a different guy. And it's like, there's too many guys.
I mean, they got Zion now, so I mean, they'll be it's fine. Right. But Boogie, get better soon, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope you'll be fine.
Hopefully. And then we got like a few more picks.
Ikep Udo.
I don't really want to go through all these picks.
I just wanted to say the name. I think the name is Al Farouk Aminu.
Chief. Played for your team.
I like
at one point.
He just got hurt. He's still playing. He's gonna be. He's gonna play.
He's a decent guy. Also, Greg Monroe in there somewhere.
Gordon Hayward.
One of the guys I really like, Gordon Hayward.
Taken above Paul George.
At the time, didn't seem that crazy.
I mean, Butler went on a run.
They were a really good team. Could have won that championship.
Yeah.
They missed a shot. But Gordon Hayward, just a all-around really good player.
Mm-hmm.
There was a playoff run there where he was really going for it. I think they beat the Clippers.
His last year when he left Utah, he was on a tear.
He was good.
And
I'm like, holy shit. And then people look at what's happened to him in Boston. I was like, I'm gonna be honest, like, he was worth the contract.
I think so as well. Yeah.
And it's been very unfortunate.
5 games in 5 minutes into his first game.
5 minutes into his first game, and his ankle goes whap. And I'm like, yeah.
I remember us texting right after it happened. I was like, are you serious?
I was legitimately sick because
it was so terrible to watch too, man.
I couldn't, like, that was a very sad moment.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just that road to recovery. And again, like I said, this draft had a bunch of these injuries that you're like, what?
We talked about John Wall, Boogie Cousins, Wesley Johnson, fucking everybody.
Hayward, and then even Paul George, the next pick,
breaks his fucking leg
in playing, for the national team.
In USA basketball.
And he's bounced back really well, but we were really seeing a new version of him coming out, and we were robbed of like 2 years of Paul George.
Absolutely, yeah.
That really could have been something special.
I don't even think last year he was playing at an almost MVP level, and he wasn't even fully healthy yet.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't even 100% back.
So we don't know. Like, perhaps Paul George has reached his peak or pinnacle.
Maybe
like, we have seen the best of Paul George, which is pretty good. Or were we robbed of possibly seeing an even higher level of Paul George? We don't know.
I mean, maybe with this quarantine, maybe he's had time to recover, and maybe we're going to see him back better than ever now. Like, he's had time to heal his leg more. Same thing with Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi was injured. Like, he was playing injured pretty much for the most part. So
Paul George is the ultimate number 2. Like,
I would think, I
think he has every talent, every ability that you need, and you would think he was like a number 1 guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of has this ability to be a number 2. To like,
he's Pippen.
Yeah, he was very accepting of a role. Like, all right, when he played on the Thunder, he was like, "This is Russell Westbrook's team.
Mm-hmm.
Let him run the ship." But I'm gonna play at an MVP level.
Yeah,
and it was like it worked. And you see him now with the Clippers, and I'm like, Kawhi's the guy.
Yeah, for sure.
You got the ultimate number 2 guy.
Yeah,
who's like, he will do whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be interesting.
I mean, he's. Like you said, he's accepted the role. Sometimes a player his maximum is being the best number 2 he can be, and I think ultimately that's what Paul George is. Not to say that he can't be a number 1 on the night basis. Like, you never know, he can drop 30, 40 points. He was playing, like I said, at an almost MVP type level last year. His defense was fantastic. His offense was great. So I mean, Paul George. The fact that he's been able to come back after breaking his leg the way he did and being able to play to the level that he was able to play to is fantastic. But like you said, maybe we're seeing like a Grant Hill situation or something like that where they're great, but they can never reach
that the highest of their abilities.
I mean, it happened with T-Mac. It happened with, obviously we saw it happen with Brandon Roy, and we saw it happen with, Greg Oden and shit like that. So
pretty much this entire draft, we're looking at guys where it's like, this new era of guys, exceptionally talented, and it's like one way or another, they may have some piece of them has been taken away.
I'm gonna click on something here because I have a feeling I know what I'm about to reference. So Basketball Reference, if you guys don't know, is where we're checking a lot of this information. And one great thing that Basketball Reference does is when you click on a player, it tells you their nicknames.
Yes.
I clicked on Eric Bledsoe because I had a feeling that this was his nickname. Do you want to know what it says on here?
Is it Drew Bledsoe?
No.
I see it now.
Eric Bledsoe.
Mini LeBron.
Mini LeBron. I remember they called him that, and I was like, what?
I remember that.
Oh, who?
Definitely
what?
A physically gifted guy.
Absolutely.
But
is he Mini LeBron?
Mini LeBron?
No.
Also, Eric Bledsoe disappears quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why Milwaukee.
You know who actually? There was another guy in this draft where I had so much hope for him.
Who?
Especially on a team that he was on, Larry Sanders.
Yes.
Imagine Larry Sanders with like Giannis nowadays and all
stuff.
He
had
a really
physical
guy.
presence too. Yeah.
Just a very good physical player, perfect for the league now, very just like rim running and everything like that. And only played 6 seasons.
Something like that,
like,
yeah.
You know, personal issues and things that happened. Definitely a guy who I actually liked watching play quite a bit.
Absolutely.
And just a strange draft, very strange. Had a few guys that you would wish you could have seen the best of them, because there was a lot of talent here.
I think so.
It's definitely fun time.
I mean, 2010 been a fun year to look back on, and we're going to look back on it even more after this break. Do we have break music? We need break music. I'm going to press a random button to see if it can be break music.
So obviously, Kobe's tragic passing earlier this year. Definitely, obviously, it's not something we could ever expect.
Of course not.
And the NBA has this unique thing that it's like all of their legends are still there, and it's weird that Kobe, isn't. But 2010 being the last year he won a championship, we also wanted to look back on Kobe.
Yeah, absolutely. It would feel wrong to not.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it being kind of like that last year of Kobe's like peak, like he still kept going up. Like he was still like on top of the world. But I'm talking about playoff Kobe was something else.
When the Black Mamba came out and he was on, you couldn't stop him. You could not. I mean, when it comes to the list of the best scorers to ever play in the NBA, Kobe has to be in your top.
Yeah, no, he's undeniable. So I was just looking at the stats. I'm like, he made an All-Star game every year except 2 of his career.
Crazy.
It was 2 of his first 3.
Crazy.
Which, again, still staggering that he made an All-Star game at 19. That's crazy.
And he was playing with Magic Johnson. So, I mean, you're not going to be able to, you know what I mean? Like, you can only show so much when you're playing against, when you're playing with a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was unreal. And then just his entire career is pretty staggering. 25 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4.7 assists. For the people that say he didn't pass, that's a running joke.
Almost had 5 assists a game.
It was a strategy for the Celtics. They almost had him where they were like, Kobe's always going to be Kobe. When the moment's at the biggest, he is going to shoot. He's going to take the shot. If you let him, and they enticed him to do so, let Kobe beat us by himself.
Exactly.
Take away everything else. And the thing was, Kobe intended to beat the Celtics by himself.
Yes. He intended to beat everybody by himself.
And he did.
He sure. I mean, 5-time NBA champion.
In 2008, but he went back-to-back after that, and he beat that team.
Yep.
And he did what he had to do.
5-time NBA champion. And this to me is the part that a lot of people don't give Kobe credit for, and I feel like it goes unnoticed. He was 12-time all-defense.
Yes.
12-time all-defense. So people can say whatever they want about Kobe not being a team player. He only cared about himself. He only cared about stats. Whatever you want to say. He was 12-time all-defense.
I think the big thing that came... So what happened with Kobe's career that I think gave him this perception that it was like all about Kobe. So they won. They had their three-peat with Shaq. And then when Shaq left, the team was decimated. They didn't really have much else.
No, yeah.
Right? And then you just have Kobe who's like, fine, I'll stay. Get a team around me. And they stayed in limbo for a while where, they were decent, never really able to get to that peak again. And Kobe was like, fine, if there's not a team around me, I'm going to take this on every single night.
I'm going to win by myself.
The man dropped 35 points a night in 2005, 2006.
Crazy.
35 points a night
Crazy
is ridiculous. And I'm talking about like we would see like James Harden dropping what he's doing, shooting a bunch of threes and free throws, and the pace of the game is so different.
Yeah, but the total team scored 130 points.
But we're talking about Kobe back in the mid-2000s where the pace is not even remotely close to what it is nowadays, dropping 35 a night.
No way.
I'm like, that's unreal.
The fact that, Kobe, he wasn't, after Shaq left, what other all-star or all-NBA or until Pau Gasol got there, who?
Had nothing.
He had to, whether his stats or his averages were hurt because, he had to throw up so many shots a game to try to give the Lakers a chance to win for so many years. And, you could see it with the young players that came through. His last year in the NBA, you had, guys like D'Angelo Russell and Larry Nance Jr. and all these young cats. They looked up to Kobe. Everybody looked up to Kobe. LeBron looked up to Kobe. Everybody looked up to Kobe. And it was for seasons like the 2010 season where he went against a three-headed monster in the Celtics. In KG and the Celtics and everybody. He went out and he beat them. You can say Pau Gasol and everybody else helped him, but Kobe.
It was Kobe.
It was Kobe.
You don't get there without Kobe.
Exactly.
And it's just repeated legacy of success and just doing everything possible to win. And he was the closest thing we had to Jordan in our era.
I think so.
There wasn't really anybody like Jordan before. But since there was a guy by the name of Kobe Bryant that was like, everything about that guy, the way, the drive and will to win and everything.
Yeah.
Like an obsession to be good. That was Kobe.
Kobe said that he wanted to be the best Laker of all time.
Do you consider him the best Laker of all time?
I don't know.
I look at it.
Well, the question is he the best Laker or the best player to ever be a Laker? I think those are two distinct questions.
The thing. I think he is the best Laker to play.
I think so.
The best player can be up to debate.
Yeah.
And some would say, like Kareem or Magic.
I would say so. I would put those two, yes.
But I think, Kobe's still in that discussion.
The best advocate to wear a Lakers uniform.
But the best, I think, Laker
is Kobe Bryant. Yes.
Like he defines everything about the Lakers. Like everything. He
never left. He cared about
has
LA.
2 retired numbers.
Which is wild.
I'm like, crazy. That's a flex.
I got 2 in the rafters. 2.
I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, we also can't go this whole podcast without talking about Gianna. I mean,
yes.
Rest in peace, baby.
She was supposed to be also
Baby Mamba.
Baby Mamba. She was coming for it.
She was going to change WNBA, man.
We would see the videos and Kobe was like, playing with her, showing how to like do certain things. And it's like, oh, snap. Like this. Of course, Kobe's daughter would be the one.
Right.
That would be like, of the athlete children that make some noise. It's like, oh, of course, it's Kobe's daughter.
It's Kobe's daughter.
And yeah. And obviously, sadly taken away. And that's another thing. It's like Kobe, we see the legacy that he had. And I will always remember, like, yeah, he beat my team, but I'm watching this guy and I go, fucking hell, I can't help but be like, this fucking Kobe Bryant.
You can hate him all you want, but you can't deny.
I couldn't even hate Kobe. I was just like, God damn it. Like, it's like, he's beating my team right now, but I'm just like, yeah, it's fucking Kobe. Like, there's pictures where I go, God, like that shit is like some next level stuff. Like, yo, I'd never seen something like that.
Kobe's last NBA game, he drops 60 points. There are players that go their entire career without getting close. And on his retirement run,
age 37,
60 points to beat the Utah Jazz.
But that's what I was saying. Like, his post-NBA career, he knew what he was in the NBA.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who's just competitor. But then you see him, it's like, also, this is also Kobe, where it's like, he loves being a dad and, he's a girl dad and just anything for his kids and all this. Like, it was beautiful to watch. And he was very aware of what he was.
Yeah, I agree.
And he knew, and he was like, I'm not going to stop here. And it was like, it was sad to see, like, that thing go. Because I was like, he was still getting so much.
Yeah.
There was so much more coming. And it's like, he won a freaking Oscar.
That's crazy.
Like, for an animated short that they did with Kobe, and it was like, he got an Oscar. I was like, yeah, that's some
Oscar-winning Kobe Bryant.
Next level greatness shit.
The fact that he knew his, like how you said, he knew his legacy, but he also wanted to continue to be an advocate for basketball. I mean, he had his whole Mamba mentality thing where he would, go at active players in the NBA,
do the breakdown,
and wanting them to reach their greatness and giving them challenges and giving them an idea. Like, if you want to be like the Mamba, this is what you got to do.
Giannis and was like, MVP.
Yeah, do it.
And Giannis was like, game
done.
Let's do it.
The fact that his stamp on basketball and the players that grew up watching him and idolized him. I mean, obviously his death was so tragic, and the players, I think, playing now are playing for him and wanting to.
If you look at like Jason Tatum,
yeah,
yes, it was a running joke that it was like, oh, he had a summer with Kobe and Kobe was
trying
to sabotage him, which probably Kobe did. Honestly, he would be that type of guy.
He's a Laker for life, man.
But it was like, after his passing, like, you could see the difference in guys.
Yeah.
And yes, everybody was really troubled by it and sad, and it was hard. It was definitely hard. But the guys that were really touched by Kobe were like, I am going to play like in his honor and show like I got like this is what he meant to me. And like watching Tatum, he'd wear the purple sweatband and he'd just do Kobe shit where I was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yo, like, say what you will, but I like watching this where I go, if somebody has even just a touch of what Kobe was, I'm like, yeah, put that guy on my team.
If you got that Mamba mentality, man. I mean, when we grew up, when you wanted to throw a piece of paper into a trash can,
Kobe.
I mean, it's
you seen the clip of like the Undertaker, like he was doing an interview. And like this is like old Taker.
No, right? I haven't seen it.
They're wrapping him up. He just finished like a match or something, and it's for his documentary or something. And he's just there. He's like, yeah, the match was going, and he just stops for a second. He goes, Kobe. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, that's a thing where I'm like that. It wasn't like, oh, people didn't that even if they didn't like Kobe, it was like everybody does that shit.
I mean, the fact that you had guys like Jack Nicholson and Leo DiCaprio coming to the game, it became a spectacle as along with being basketball, and it was. Kobe was a showman on the court. He made it. I mean, playing in LA for all the Hollywood elites and making it seem like this is not just basketball. I'm putting on a show. This is my art. And how he took that and made it also, I'm going to win while doing all of this all together. There's a lot of people who are good advocates for just basketball and the NBA as a whole, but I don't think there are many better than Kobe Bryant was. And he still is. He still has an impact on the game.
Probably the greatest example.
I would think so.
Somebody, he comes in and we've never seen somebody quite like him.
His rookie year, that was the thing. You remember Afro Kobe, his rookie year? Come on, man.
And the thing is also like a man that comes in and he's like, he knows all these languages and stuff and connects with so many people. Grew up in Spain. It was crazy. Luka Doncic was playing and he's shooting the ball and he hears, somebody talking. He's like, Luka Doncic from Slovenia. Yeah. And he hears somebody say something to him in his language and he goes, what the fuck? And he looks and it's like, oh, it's Kobe talking shit. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that kind of stuff. I'm like,
that's more than basketball. And I hope a lot of people see, obviously the basketball stuff is great, but I hope a lot of people also know how great he was even outside of basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things, like, when you propose, we look back at the 2010, 10 years, we're 10 episodes in. Yeah. It's like, oh, snap, this was cool. But then, like, seeing that, we were like, oh, shit. Yeah, that was that Lakers final. And they won that shit. And it was like Kobe.
That was fantastic, man. It sucks that as a Magic fan, they did beat my team the year before. So yes. I do have a little, stake in my heart because of that. But
he beat many a teams.
So yeah, I can't be mad. I mean, I guess the team I'd be most mad with like Toronto because he dropped 82 on y'all. Was it Toronto? I'm pretty sure it was Toronto.
Yeah. Well, Jalen Rose gets a lot of that shit.
Well, yeah. That's a story. That's a story for another time. But,
yeah.
So with that being said, it's been a great 10-year look back. It's been a great 10 episodes. We reached this milestone. That's not really a milestone, but
it's a milestone to us.
It's a milestone to us. Thank you guys for watching and listening.
And just so you know, we aren't retiring.
No, we're not retiring because we need to play. How many seasons did Kobe play? 17?
Yeah, so 18? we got a lot of catching up to do to Kobe.
We do.
But hopefully we're on a good pace.
So are you Pergasurg and
you want to be Merkersurg and I'm Pergasurg?
And we'll see you guys next term.
Kobe.
Anything's
possible.
Anything.